Max says, I made a macaroni picture of you. Max, that is really good. That is really very impressive. You put a lot of effort into that. Now, Max, we do have to have this conversation again. You are one of the parents here, and it is your child that's in school. So I would be impressed if they had made it, but the fact that you have made me a macaroni picture again means that I might need to call some special people who will come and have a chat with you and all the people that live at your house to see if we can get you some kind of support or a soft helmet. MSF Poby, I glued my fingers together, Mr. Strifey. Yes, you are also one of the teachers. So I can't keep helping you with this. This stream is going to get invaded by people with strange fetishes. Wafer thin ham, we are way beyond that. Okay, we crossed the Rubicon on that a while ago. The event horizon is just more of a memory for most people. Appears with a clipboard and a carbon monoxide detector. Thank you. Inju, do you want to know something about needing a carbon monoxide detector? I literally have one on my desk. Like, this is one of the most important things that you genuinely can own. If you can, buy yourself a carbon monoxide detector and put it wherever you are. I'm not even kidding. I want to know that if I'm going to go crazy, that's the reason. What is the event horizon? So, if you are actually asking, the event horizon is a moment where an event cannot then be undone. So the best way to describe it would be if you were leaning back on your chair, there will be a moment eventually where you are definitely going to tip over the back of your chair and you are not going to be able to come back from that. That moment is the event horizon of that tip. It is the exact moment where the situation goes from still salvageable to it now cannot be stopped. It is also a very, very good sci-fi horror movie. Were you ever a teacher? Yeah, genuinely, for like 8 years. It's a really good film. That is the correct definition of a black hole event horizon. Yeah, there we go. That's when you can no longer escape the gravitational pull of that. I also do choose to believe that Event Horizon is just the prequel to Warhammer 40k. Why the carbon monoxide thingy? Because I'd rather know if my room is filled with poisonous gas than not know that. I don't think it was originally supposed to be a Warhammer 40k movie. I just think it's a very, very good prequel to the entire idea of the warp. Mr. Strife, where is the event horizon of the gravitational pull of your mum? Oh, goodness. Oh, you made a good your mum joke. Do I need to call home and have a chat? Do I need to call your mum and have a chat? Because if I do, I'll just have a word with her later when I see her. Why would your room be full of gas? Genuinely asking. Gatar, I have a lot of electronics in this room, and there is the water heater and the boiler just outside on the landing. The chance of this room being full of carbon monoxide is remarkably low. However, it's never zero, and sometimes you've had a very intense curry. In all seriousness, I could really use a teacher like you back when I was in school. Well, a lot of the students that I worked with had a good time, got some good grades, hopefully taught them some decent lessons, and then the educational system became about rote memorization instead of actual curiosity or encouragement for learning. So I'm like, nope, I'm out now. How is the carbon monoxide detector helping increase your DPS exactly? So I think I do more damage when I'm not actually dead, and I am playing hardcore. So I don't get a second chance. What did I teach? Combination of drama and any other class that needed a substitute teacher for the time being, because nobody cared about drama, which was honestly quite fun. That sounds very dramatic. Yes, it was. It's good fun though. Drama classes are mostly about confidence. Other kind of teachers or parents didn't really understand that the majority of drama classes were just about teaching confidence. And now I can teach YouTube drama. If I ever need to become a YouTube drama channel, I will have it locked down and in the bag. Drama is also really good about creating empathy, because you basically take the kids that cannot empathize with a situation outside of themselves and say, okay, you are now playing this character. Your job is to embody their thoughts. We know they're not your thoughts, but your job is to understand how they think about it. And it's effectively a way of putting someone in a position where they have to empathize. It's also a really good indicator for early age mental ability or emotional intelligence with that. If you can take a kid who is younger and you can see that they are able to empathize with a character who has gone through things that they have not gone through. Basically, can you do a drama class and can you pass the Sally Ann test are two very, very strong indicators of childhood mental stability. The Sally Ann test is fascinating. If you guys haven't looked into that, it's a really interesting idea. And if I explain this to you, I think many of you will suddenly realize something about this. Have you ever met someone who struggles to understand that other people think differently to them? Have you ever met someone who thinks that the world should know what they know? And if someone doesn't have the information that they have, then that person's an idiot. The Sally Ann test is this. Imagine two girls, one called Sally, one called Ann. It doesn't have to be two girls, just two people, but the Sally Ann test is the most famous version of it. Sally has a basket in front of her, and Ann has a box. Sally, girl with a basket, has a marble, and she puts the marble in the basket, and then Sally leaves. Ann then walks over to the basket, takes the marble out, and puts it in her box. Sally then returns. Sally wants the marble. Where will she go and look for it? And people who are able to understand that Sally has information based on her own understanding of the world will say Sally will look in the basket, because that's the last place that Sally knows the marble was. But people who think that Sally should have all of the information that they have say Sally will look in the box, despite the fact that Sally would have no reason to ever think the marble was in the box. So when you take someone and say, hey, this is the information that you've got, where will she look for the marble with the information that they've got? Kids who are able to understand, oh yeah, Sally put the marble in the basket, and then Ann, when she wasn't looking, moved it into the box, but Sally doesn't know that. That's a test. How? Because when you give it to a younger child, as they grow up from about 5 to 10, some kids still can't understand that Sally will look in the basket, not the box. Because the kid will look at you and go, yeah, but it's in the box. And I'm like, yes, it's only in the box because we know that Anne took it out the basket and put it into the box. Sally doesn't know that. And the kids will be like, yeah, but it's in the box. Because they cannot comprehend that some people have either more or less information than other people. They think that everyone operates on the information that they have got. So sometimes you meet people and they just assume that everyone knows exactly as much as they do. No more, no less. I see it in adults all the time. Have you ever discovered or been in an experience where, I've seen this all the time, this happens in education way too much, you will teach someone something that they do not know, and then that person will know that thing, which is great, but then they will start treating other people who do not know it as lesser. They'll almost mock them for not knowing something. They'll joke about the fact that everyone knows that, despite the fact that they themselves did not know that previously. I meet people like that so often. Kids do it a lot. You will teach a child something, then when they meet someone who does not know what they know, they will almost treat that person as inferior. It's almost as if having the knowledge makes them superior to them, and yet they seem to forget the fact that there was a point in their life, potentially very recently, where they themselves did not have that knowledge. Adults do this. There is also a thing with adults where when they learn something that they didn't know before, they automatically assume that nobody else knew that as well. Happens all the time on job sites with newbies. We teach them incorrect information and wait for them to make an ass of it. There's a thing where you teach someone something and then suddenly them knowing that makes them superior. It's also okay to not know something. It's okay to just take ownership of not knowing something. So the reason this loops back to drama is when you have a kid or potentially, let's say, a tweenager to a teenager, so 11 to 19-ish, that is a great time in life to help teach people empathy. And one of the best things that you could do to teach someone empathy is to help them within a safe space, mentally and kind of physically, explore the situation that other people find themselves in. And I used to work with kids who were quite underprivileged. And so I would see this in the underprivileged kids do not like showing any level of weakness. You really can't show any level of weakness or any level of not understanding, because then your peers and your friends or the culture tends to bully people pretty harshly. You have to know everything. You have to have an answer. You have to be capable. And so when I say safe space, it's important that whenever I'm working with underprivileged kids, I say to them, look, we're all going to be doing stuff here that you guys aren't going to understand, and that's totally okay. What we're doing is a process, and that is fine. I want to see you be willing to take the risk and willing to fail with this, and I will fully support that. And then you allow those kids to kind of experience and explore a life that they may not understand through a level of performance. And that is super important for them. So to me, the strength of drama was the ability to teach people empathy. That was the most important thing it did. I didn't care if you couldn't remember Shakespeare. I didn't care if you didn't know who Stanislavski was. It does not matter. The most important thing that you can possibly understand from the level of the performance that we're about to do is there will be people in life who think differently to you and have different ideas and different information. And instead of being scared of them or hating them, finding how you can empathize with them and understand, that's one of the best ways. Who taught me all this? A series of very, very, very good teachers whom I have reached out to after I've graduated and started teaching and worked with on various projects in the future. You can explore other people's lives. You absolutely can. Someone once said, is acting lying? And I said, nope, acting is telling the truth from somebody else's perspective. Society does need to come to terms with the idea that it is okay to be wrong. And one of the most interesting characters, I think, in whether you like the musical or not, I think an interesting character in Les Miserables is Jean Valjean and Javert, the whole connection those guys have. If anyone has not seen Les Miserables, the musical is a bit too long. The film is a bit too long in general. But one of the interesting things is the policeman Javert. Javert is this single-minded, justice-focused guy who cannot possibly comprehend that a criminal in any way could be redeemable. To him, the act of committing a crime, no matter what the reason, is absolutely abhorrent. And his story in Les Miserables is effectively coming to terms with the fact that even though he is following his own personal moral code, and he is following the ideals that he has been taught and raised with and that he has never strayed from, is that he isn't actually making the world a better place by doing it. And that, I think, is a fascinating thing to look into. And whenever I'm teaching drama to any kind of slightly more childish age group from like 10 to about, I say 19, I don't refer to 19 as childish, but still in the formative stages, the idea to explore what Javert thinks he's doing with what he's doing is a really interesting thing. And the song Stars is basically him saying, look, I thought I've been right my entire life, but actually I'm now looking at what I'm doing and realizing that I have been hurting this guy who is not a bad person. And I cannot understand that a criminal can't not be a bad person, which is really interesting. You have a question. I was an actor in a play and the star actor was forecasted to be late. So our drama teacher was readying himself to play his part. When I watched him prepare, I felt like a ghost fly away from him. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when you are ready to walk on stage, your job is to embody something else as best you can. And some people can do that better than others. Some people do it quicker than others. You ask myself how or why people don't ask themselves. I can handle answers different from mine. But yeah, exactly. You can try lots of things. It's trying to work out what you do and do not embody and believe in and want to value is very important in general. But to me, the power of drama was not just about the entertaining of the audience. It was about the actor being able to explore a life that they would never have and never understand through a character who has it and understands it. And through a level of psychic osmosis, they will, through doing their best to embody that experience, hopefully be able to take a minute fraction of it into something that germinates into a truth they understand. And then through doing that repeatedly over many years, they will eventually realize that there are so many viewpoints and ideas in different places that they will never truly get, but it's okay to not understand something. If someone joins an acting school and leaves a more fleshed out, fulfilled, rounded person, it's done its job. Any advice for teachers to avoid having bias towards students and having students they like and dislike? You're a human. You're going to have students you like and dislike. Absolutely. Your job is to try and connect with that person as best you can, but to deny the fact that you are human and will have people you like and dislike, that's to deny what makes you human as well. You're not a machine. It's totally okay to admit that there will be students you like and students you don't like. Your job is to make sure the student is getting the best that they can. In fact, sometimes it's even worth explaining to the student not that you don't like them, but that you don't like the situations that their behavior creates. I've never said to a student, I don't like you. I have said, hey man, I'm not a big fan of the situations that you and I often find ourselves in because of these choices that have been made. Is there anything that we can do to make sure these choices are made less frequently? That way, it's not you versus them. It's you and them versus the situation that you both find yourself in. And they probably don't like it either. Most people are not good at communicating. Most students are especially not good at communicating. So while it would be great for them to sit down and say, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I'm feeling, most people are not mature enough to do that. So part of your job is to create the situation where they feel safe enough to do that. If you can find a way that the students you dislike feel safe enough and feel listened to and seen in a way that they aren't going to, lash out or kick back against, and feel comfortable telling you what it is that's actually worrying them, then they can be able to work with you on that. That is the right way to communicate with a child. Unfortunately, some children are very old. I have met 40-year-old children, and I have to communicate with them in exactly the same way. I have to make sure that I am setting up a safe space, a respectable idea. When I say safe space, I don't mean that you aren't going to discuss complicated things. That's not actually a safe space. That is an avoidant space. I dislike the fact the term safe space has been co-opted to mean I'm not going to challenge myself in any way. That's not what it should be at all. People hear the word safe space and they push back going, oh my God, that's so stupid. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. And you know what? Sometimes I see the ideas that these safe spaces have created, and I also hate what they stand for. Because what they have become to mean is, do not in any way challenge my views. What an actual safe space should be is the knowledge that you are going to be challenged, you are going to be confronted, you are going to have to deal with deep, uncomfortable ideas, but then when it's over, you will be okay. That's what it is. A safe space is not avoiding difficulty. It's the knowledge that you are going to do something difficult and come out the other side a better person. That's what it is. A martial arts practice dojo is a safe space to practice the martial arts. You're going to get hurt. You're going to maybe fail. You're going to have to do some physically demanding stuff. But everyone is there to support you. You are there to support you. You are all there for the same ultimate goal. That's what it is. It's not, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to focus on it. Because that sucks. You don't grow if you do that. I don't think that avoiding reality is the right thing to do. I don't think that putting yourself in a position where you never get challenged is the right thing to do. And I hate the fact that the word and the phrase safe space has come to mean I am going to put myself into a situation where I never get challenged because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. That, I think, is selfish and cowardly. Drama, like good theatre, is a safe space to explore the concepts of other people beyond yourself. A martial arts dojo is a safe space in order to train in martial arts. A psychologist's or a therapist's office is a safe space to discuss the deep-rooted issues that you are going through. A safe space is not something where you avoid everything. That's not safe. That's ignorant. There's a difference. Provided the space is not delusional. Absolutely. It cannot be delusional. There's a fine line between discomfort and trauma. Very true. Very true. We turn inside to avoid everything. Yeah, we do. People think that avoidance is safe, and it's not. That's just sticking your head in the sand and hoping that nobody ever challenges you. Unfortunately, it does have that connection now where it's just like, oh, safe space. You don't want to be challenged. You want to be coddled. You want to be wrapped in cotton wool. Nope. That's a bad idea. That's not productive for anyone. But at the same time, being mocked and teased. Some people grow from tough love. Others don't. And that's okay. Forcing someone to grow in the way that you grow is not always beneficial to that person. And one of the most important and difficult things to do is work out how you set your ego aside and say, even though I grow in this way, they may grow in this way. You've seen safe spaces used a lot in your personal circles as a means to avoid saying anything against the narrative. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What it means is this is getting a bit uncomfortable and I'm not comfortable talking about it, and so I'm going to stop. When what it should mean is this is getting a bit uncomfortable, but I know that pushing through the uncomfortableness is going to be a benefit. And that is much, much harder to find. But I do think the phrase itself has been damaged pretty substantially, to be honest.